Hey there, Joy Seeker. Welcome back to Find the Joy with Jen. If you're co parenting with someone who seems determined to make everything difficult, today's episode is for you. One of the hardest realities after divorce isn't always the divorce itself. Sometimes the hardest part is what comes after, especially when you're trying to raise children with someone who still brings conflict, control, and chaos into every situation. High conflict co parenting is exhausting. It can feel like you're constantly putting out fires. Every text message feels loaded. Every schedule change becomes a battlefield. Every decision feels like it has to go through a courtroom or a judge. Do you know what I'm talking about? I've been there, friends. I know what this feels like. And for many of you listening today, this isn't hypothetical. This is your daily life. Maybe you're dealing with someone who manipulates the custody schedule. They change plans at the last minute. They refuse exchanges or show up late. Maybe they withhold child support or refuse to contribute to medical bills or extracurricular activities. Maybe they undermine you with the kids. They criticize your parenting. They speak poorly about your spouse or your child's step parent, or maybe they even try to turn your kids against you. Some of you are dealing with long distance exchanges that are complicated and emotionally draining. Others are dealing with missed communication, ignored messages, and constant threats of going back to court. And unfortunately, some of you are stuck in ongoing court battles that feel like they never end. And if that's where you are right now, I want you to hear something clearly. You are not alone, my friend. And more importantly, there is a way to navigate high conflict co parenting without losing yourself, your peace, or your sanity in the process. Today, I'm going to talk about some practical ways to help you handle these situations and also how you can protect your peace, your integrity, and your relationship with your children. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters most. But before we jump into today's episode, if you're new here, welcome. I'm glad you found me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes. My goal with this podcast and with this channel is to help you navigate divorce with faith, clarity, and hope so you truly can find joy in your life again. And I also want to tell you about something I'm really excited about. I have just launched the Find the Joy app. You can access it through my website, findthejoywithjen.com. Inside the app, you will find exclusive content, discounts on courses and programs, daily inspirational messages to help you stay grounded during this difficult season. And one of my favorite features, you can actually submit a question about your divorce situation, and I will personally respond to help guide you through it. And if you're looking for extra support between the episodes, the app is the best place to connect and get the encouragement you need. So let's get into it. First, if you are dealing with a high conflict co-parenting situation, I want to gently suggest that you accept the reality of your situation. In high conflict co-parenting is the expectation that things should be different. You may think, why can't we just be reasonable? You may believe that if you communicate clearly, explain your perspective, or try harder to cooperate, things will eventually get better. And sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. One of the hardest but most freeing realizations is this: you cannot control the other parent. You cannot control whether they act responsibly or kindly. You cannot control whether they choose peace over conflict. When you stop trying to control what is outside your control, something beautiful and powerful happens, my friends. You start focusing on what is within your control: your behavior, your responses, your boundaries, your integrity, and your example to your children. That shift alone can change everything for you. One of the most common issues in high conflict co-parenting is the manipulation of custody schedules. It happens all the time. Last minute cancellations, unexpected changes, refusing exchanges, showing up hours late. using the schedule as a way to maintain control. When this happens, I know it is incredibly frustrating because it disrupts not only your life, but your child's sense of stability. And children thrive on predictability. When schedules are constantly shifting, it can create anxiety and confusion for them. So, what can you do? First, you can document everything, not emotionally, not dramatically, just clearly and factually. Keep a record of those missed exchanges, late pickups, last minute cancellations, and communication attempts. Second, communicate in writing whenever possible. Text or email provides a clear record and reduces the chances of misunderstandings. Many families now use a co-parenting app. There are several out there. These are great options to keep everything consolidated in one place and to limit the number of disruptions to your life from this other person. Third, follow the court order. Even when the other parent doesn't, your consistency becomes a stabilizing force in your child's life. And if it ever does need to go back to court, your documentation and consistency will matter. Let's talk about when the kids become the messenger. Another painful dynamic in high conflict co-parenting is when the kids are caught in the middle. Sometimes one parent uses the children as messengers. Tell your mom she owes me money. Tell your dad he needs to change the schedule. Or worse, they start criticizing you or your spouse in front of the children. Now, I'm going to tell the truth, friends. I have done this myself. Give yourself a lot of grace. When things are stressful, when you are not at your best, sure, it happens at times. If you have done this, give yourself so much grace, my friend, and correct your course going forward. But when one parent bashes another, that's a real problem. So really do your best to never badmouth their other parent. They may question parenting decisions. They even may try to turn your children against you. This is incredibly damaging for children. Children should never feel like they have to choose sides. So what do you do? Take the high road, friends. You refuse to participate in the negativity. You don't defend yourself to your child. You don't retaliate. Instead, you create a home environment where your children feel safe, loved, and free from adult conflict. This is a beautiful gift that you can give your children. When your child repeats something hurtful that the other parent has said, resist the urge to fire back. Instead, you might say something like, "I'm sorry you had to hear that." Sometimes adults say things when they're upset. What matters most is that you are loved by both of us. Your children will remember the peace you create in your response. Let's talk about financial conflict and refusing expenses. This happens all the time. There is financial conflict, child support disputes, medical bills, extracurricular activities, and school expenses. Some parents refuse to pay their portion. Others argue about every single expense. Now, financial disagreements are so frustrating. It's important to keep your focus on your children, not winning the dispute with your co-parent, okay? Keep records, share the receipts, communicate clearly, and avoid getting pulled into emotional debates. If an expense is required by a court order, submit the documentation and then move forward. If they refuse to pay, you can document it and then let the legal system handle the enforcement rather than escalating the conflict yourself. Your peace is worth protecting. What do you do when communication breaks down? This is a huge problem in high conflict co-parenting struggles. Texts go unanswered, emails get ignored, phone calls become arguments. Sometimes communication is even weaponized against you. Constant messages, accusations, or demands. This is where structured communication is so helpful. Keep your messages short. Keep them factual. Keep them child focused. There is this concept called the BIF communication method that I highly recommend. Keep all communication brief, informative, friendly, and firm. I'll give you an example. Hi, just confirming the exchange tomorrow at 5 p.m. at the usual location. No accusations, no emotional commentary, just the information. You don't need to explain everything, and you don't have to defend your decisions. When you stay calm and communicate clearly, that removes the fuel from the fire. Another problem that I see often is long distance co parenting. This one is extra tricky, friends. I get it. There are travel arrangements and school schedules that have to be accommodated, holiday conflicts, and it can be emotionally and mentally exhausting for the parents and the children. In these situations, planning ahead becomes incredibly important. Create clear agreements for travel responsibilities, confirm plans well in advance, and focus on consistency and predictability for the children. And most importantly, help your children feel supported in their relationship with their other parent, even when it's difficult. Your children should never feel guilty for loving and wanting to see and spend time with both of their parents. Now, let's talk about the emotional toll of ongoing court battles. For some families, the conflict never seems to stop. There's contempt motions and court hearings and attorney meetings and mediations and more court and more hearings. This process is draining on your emotional bandwidth, your energy, your finances. If you are in this situations, if you are in this situation, one of the most important things you can do is create emotional boundaries. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every disagreement needs to go back to court. Sometimes the healthiest choice is to conserve your energy for the things that truly matter: your relationship with your children, your healing, and your future life. You are allowed to move forward with your life, even if the other parent is determined to stay stuck in this conflict. Okay, so let's focus on what is truly most important in all co parenting situations, and that is maintaining a spiritual perspective. Co parenting conflicts can also become a spiritual test. It challenges our patience, our humility, our forgiveness, and sometimes even our trust in God. You may find yourself asking questions like, why does this have to be so hard? And why don't things just calm down? Why does it feel like the conflict never ends? One thing that I have learned is that the Lord often teaches us our greatest lessons in the middle of our hardest circumstances if we are willing to learn them. High conflict co parenting can help teach you how to impose boundaries. It can teach you emotional resilience. It can teach you patience and compassion. It can teach you how to lead your children with integrity when others choose chaos. You don't have to carry this burden alone, my friends. You can pray for guidance. You can seek peace through scripture and spiritual practices. You can ask the Lord to help you respond with wisdom instead of just reacting in stressful co parenting situations. And over time, you may begin to see how these experiences have shaped you into a stronger, wiser person and parent. Another thing that I want you to consider is that you are creating the environment of your home, your life, and even your family legacy. When you're in the middle of high conflict co parenting, it may feel like you're constantly reacting, responding to problems, managing the chaos, putting out fires. But I want you to remember something very important, my friends. Your children are always watching you. They are learning from the way you handle this conflict. They learn how to communicate, how to regulate their own emotions, how to treat others. You are modeling strength, dignity, integrity every single day, even when it feels like no one notices, even when the situations are unfair. Your example matters, your consistency matters, and your love matters. As you stay grounded in your faith and trust God in your divorce journey, and even turn to Him, especially turn to Him when you're navigating high conflict co parenting situations, your children will also do the same. they will trust God and turn to Him when they face challenges in their lives. Your faithfulness in this challenging trial will have a lasting, even generational impact on your family, my friend. So let me wrap this up with some final thoughts. High conflict co parenting is one of the most difficult challenges many divorced parents face. It requires patience, boundaries, documentation, clear communication, and sometimes legal intervention. But it also requires something deeper, a commitment to becoming the kind of parent your children need, even when your situation is far less than ideal. You cannot control their other parent, but you can control the environment you create in your home, in your family. You can create peace in your home. You can create stability for your children. You can show them what emotional maturity looks like. And over time, that example becomes one of the greatest gifts you can give them. If you're navigating a high conflict co parenting struggle right now, take a deep breath, my friend. This is one of the most challenging situations you can be in, and you are doing better than you think. You're doing your best. So stay grounded, stay focused on what matters most, and give yourself a whole lot of grace. I know it feels like this will last forever, but it won't. Children do grow up and they become adults, and you won't be co parenting your former spouse any longer. This too will end, my friend. Remember that you are worthy of love, peace, and a beautiful life filled with hope. Don't let anyone, especially your ex, make you believe otherwise. Surround yourself with positive, loving, supportive people who lift you up. Find a tribe that encourages your growth and celebrates your victories, no matter how small. Healing happens in community. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. You can make progress on your own, but lasting success and permanent change happens when you have guidance and support. Inside my Faith-Filled Divorce program, I coach men and women every week who are learning how to parent with peace, reclaim their voice, and stop letting their former spouse control their emotions. So if you are looking for your tribe, you want support walking through this, I would love to help you. You can learn more at findthejoywithjen.com and check the show notes if you would like to join us. Thanks for being here, friends. If today's episode has resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and like this video and share in the comments what part of this conversation stood out most to you. And remember, you can find more support through the Find the Joy app available on my website at findthejoywithjen.com. Inside the app, you will get daily inspiration, exclusive content discounts on programs, and the opportunity to submit your own questions so that I can personally help guide you through your divorce journey. Thanks so much for being here, Joy Seekers. Remember, even in the middle of conflict, it is still possible to find joy in the journey. Thanks for being here. Bye, y'all.